Imagine you're walking through a forest. Everything around you feels familiar. The trees, the breeze, the birds. But suddenly, you get the feeling that you're being watched. Not just watched, studied. You stop and wonder, what if this isn't your peaceful walk, but someone else's experiment? It might sound like science fiction, but for decades, some of the world's most respected scientists have been asking a profound question. If the universe should be teeming with intelligent civilizations, why haven't we encountered a single one? This is the famous Fermi Paradox. It sounds simple. There are hundreds of billions of galaxies in the universe, each with hundreds of billions of stars, and most of those stars could have planets. So, where is everyone? A possible answer, discussed in scientific circles for over half a century, is as chilling as it is fascinating. What if we are part of a galactic zoo? We're not alone, but no one is reaching out to us because we're under observation, like animals who don't realize that behind the glass, a visitor is watching them with a notepad in hand. The idea of a galactic zoo didn't come from science fiction writers. It was proposed at one of the world's largest scientific conferences in Paris back in 1969. There, astrophysicists, philosophers, and biologists gathered to discuss the Fermi Paradox. And among the many theories presented, someone asked, what if they've already found us, but are deliberately avoiding contact? The hypothesis suggests that highly advanced civilizations might have imposed a moratorium on interacting with less developed life forms in order not to disrupt their natural evolution. Much like how we avoid interfering in the lives of isolated tribes deep in the jungle. We know they exist, but we also understand that handing them a smartphone or showing them an airplane could shatter their entire worldview. Now imagine this. In that equation, we are the tribe. Thousands of radio signals from Earth have been traveling through space for nearly a century. The first broadcasts began in the 1920s. Since then, our radio bubble has expanded to about 100 light years from the planet. That's a tiny sliver by cosmic standards, but even within that radius, there should be hundreds of star systems. So why hasn't a single one responded? Or maybe a response did come, but we didn't recognize it? Or worse, what if a message was sent, but it wasn't meant for us? Physicist John Ball, one of the early proponents of the zoo hypothesis, once wrote, advanced civilizations may deliberately avoid contact with us, much like we avoid interacting with wild animals, in order not to disturb their natural behavioral patterns. He suggested imagining that we live beneath an invisible dome of observation. We are being studied, considered not yet ready to know that others exist in the universe. Perhaps our reactions to potential contact have already been simulated in advance. Perhaps they've even been tested in small-scale experiments. For example, by observing how humanity responds to UFO sightings. And if you think this is just a theory, here's an intriguing fact. In recent decades, official US military agencies have begun releasing real videos of unidentified objects performing maneuvers that defy our known laws of physics. These objects aren't drones, ballistic missiles, or atmospheric phenomena. And most striking of all, after decades of silence, the Pentagon has admitted, yes, these are real, and we don't know what they are. Imagine that the most advanced civilization out there doesn't resemble us or any form of life we know. It could be an artificial intelligence created long ago that continues to observe, construct, and study without interference. Such a system could endure for millions of years without aging, dying, or decaying. It could create observation zones and place suitable objects within them. For example, our planet. Perhaps this is the most unsettling possibility. We are not an accident. We are part of an experiment. To understand the essence of the Galactic Zoo Hypothesis, it's worth asking, what makes a zoo a zoo? It's not built for the animals. It's built for the observers, for those who watch, study, and analyze. Now the real question, who is watching us? When biologists began studying wild gorillas in the 20th century, they ran into a challenge. The animals were frightened of humans, acted aggressively, or avoided all contact. So the scientists decided their observation had to be passive. They would simply sit in the shadows, not interfering, for years. Eventually, the gorillas grew used to the observers. They behaved naturally. That's how we learned how their societies form, how they interact, raise their young, and pass on behavioral patterns. Now think carefully. What if the same has been done to us? It's possible that extraterrestrial civilizations are present as passive observers. They don't intervene, don't make contact, but they record our every move. Why don't we see them? A fair question. If they're watching us, why can't we see them? The answer is simple. You wouldn't notice a hidden surveillance camera in the jungle unless you knew exactly where to look. There's even a scientific theory known as the Dark Forest Hypothesis, based on Liu Cixin's novel of the same name. According to it, all intelligent civilizations stay silent because any other could be a threat. It's like walking through a dark forest. If you call out, someone may hear, but you don't know who. So everyone hides. And here, the zoo hypothesis takes on a darker twist. We might be isolated deliberately, not just so we don't discover others, but so others don't discover us. Because the risk is annihilation. Did you know that over the past 50 years, humanity has sent several radio messages into space addressed to potential extraterrestrial intelligences? One of the most famous is the Arecibo message, transmitted in 1974. It included information about our DNA, our number system, Earth's position, and the structure of the human body. Now here's the curious part. In 2001, near the Chilbolton Radio Telescope in the UK, a crop formation appeared that closely mirrored our message, but with distinct alterations. It showed a different form of DNA, a different being, a different planetary system. Was it a hoax? Possibly, but the resemblance was so precise that even NASA added the incident to its database of unexplained signals. One of the most talked about theories of the past few decades is the simulation hypothesis. Its core idea is that our world isn't real in the traditional sense. It was created for observation. We live inside something like a computer model, designed by an advanced intelligence. The purpose of this world, to study the evolution of consciousness. If that's true, then the Galactic Zoo is just one layer of the simulation. We're like virtual beings inside a sealed lab, living our lives unaware that everything around us is part of an experiment. Philosopher Nick Bostrom, who introduced the simulation argument, claims that if it's possible to create a simulated world with conscious minds, then it's almost certain that we're already inside one. And any form of contact would be a developer stepping into the game. There are things about our world that don't quite add up. Why did the human brain evolve so rapidly compared to other species? Why are we the only ones aware of our own mortality and building civilizations? Why does our history include so many sudden leaps, from primitive tools to digital age, in such a short time? Why is Earth one of the very few known planets with conditions so perfectly tuned for life? All of these questions suggest that reality might not be random. It might be designed, or at the very least, managed. What if the watchers are no longer watching? Now imagine a different hypothesis. The watchers have left. The zoo has been abandoned. The system runs on autopilot. We're still living under the dome, but now without anyone watching. In that case, the mysteries, strange artifacts, and anomalies are remnants of a former project. We're like lab mice, still running through a maze long after the lights went out and the scientists walked away. It's a chilling, yet fascinating scenario. Perhaps the 21st century marks the phase where humanity must learn to escape the enclosure on its own. Is there a way out? Yes and no. If the hypothesis is true, we'll be released only when we've proven ourselves worthy, when we stop destroying our own planet, when we learn to live in balance, when we unite, not under fear of war, but under a banner of understanding. Maybe that's the final stage of the experiment. Will we realize we've been inside a construct? And can we find the way out without destroying ourselves? Epilogue. If tomorrow brings first contact, imagine that tomorrow morning, in every city on Earth, the same symbol appears in the sky. Not in our language, just a shape, one that everyone feels they've always known deep inside. And suddenly, you understand, we are not alone, and never were. It's not terrifying, it's magnificent. Not because we are small, but because we are part of something vast. A grand experiment, a single note in the galactic symphony, where humanity is not a mistake, but a question about the nature of consciousness itself.